Yo, what's good? It's your boy DJ Man, and welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 3 titled Boundaries. This week we're going to be talking about, the boundaries that we need to set in place that can help our mental health a little bit, or the boundaries that are lack there that, also hurt us in our mental space. And some of the things we're going to be talking about is learning to use the word no. Safeguarding your safe space, which means, protecting your area, protecting your surroundings, protecting your energy, and also using assertive tones but not being rude with them, if you know what I mean. So let's jump right into it. When we're talking about learning to say no and not feeling guilty for it, it's a lot of things and a lot of people who feel they're getting walked over or pushed on. And a lot of the times when you go through a mental state, a lot of people describe it as being used or taken advantage of, or they're too kind-hearted, their heart is too big. And I'm one of those people, I suffer from my heart being a little bit too big, and I care for others, I put others before myself and my emotional needs and my physical needs or my financial needs, and I feel like I have to help everybody. And my grandma used to always tell me, you let everybody take out of your cup and everybody is, taking, you're not gonna have anything left for yourself. So when we're talking about using the word no, you don't have to be rude about it. I mean, it's always those people who ask us to do things outside of our means, and it's hard for us to say no. It's hard for us to, turn down people or be those people who feel like we can't be there for others. And that's one of those things that can definitely, hinder your mental mind state. So when we're talking about learning to say no, it's if someone's coming at you, financially or things like that, you have to learn to say like, okay, I can't string myself along, or I can't put myself in a mindset where later this is going to hurt me. I think we need to start looking at it as we have to look out for ourselves just as much as we look out for others. And when we're talking about, saying no, we need to take more responsibilities for our actions that put us in that mental state. Because if we sit here and blame others and, we're always talking about, oh, I have a big heart and I just can't say no to people, and people take advantage of me, people use me, people, they don't understand where I'm coming from, is because we allow those actions to happen. And those are boundaries that we need to set into place. When you set in boundaries, it may help and also hinder your relationship at the time. Then people may not understand why you're finally saying no, or people may say, oh, you're changing, or people may say, oh, well, you said yes now, and they may get an attitude. But you have to understand, when we're setting our boundaries, it's not for us to please others, it's us to please ourselves. It's for us to, protect our mental stability and our mental emotional state. Because if we just continue to just keep getting used or feeling used or outpouring everything that we have in our cup, again, there's nothing left for us. And then we feel stuck in a mode where we're doing something we really don't want to do, but we don't know how to say no. I am still learning how to say no. I think I'm getting a little better with understanding that. I think with me wanting to start a family now and moving to Vegas and, trying to better myself in different aspects, financially and emotionally and physically, I have to learn to say no. In my family, I feel like sometimes I am an ATM, you know what I'm saying? Or I feel like people, they call me when they need something, or they call me to help them do something. They call me, it's never just a, hey, how you doing, DJ? Like, are you okay? Are you good? This, that, and the third. And that bothers me, but I never speak on it. So for me, I have to start holding myself accountable for my own actions. I have to start holding myself accountable for the situations that I put myself in that allow me to get into these mental states where I get, down on myself, or I get depressed, or I get in that shell. I think a lot of the times we get caught up on, when we're in these mental states, we blame others for being there, when in all reality, there are ways that we can fix it. There are ways that, we can beat ourselves before we even get to a mental breakdown, or we get to feeling emotionally used or emotionally drained. So I haven't figured out the keys yet, you know what I'm saying, to really finding my voice to say no and things like that. But what I will say is I'm getting better understanding that I need to start putting myself first before I put others before me. Unless you're my wife, this is the perfect time for me to start focusing on me and my well-being. Because at the end of the day, people aren't concerned all the time with what's best for you. Because when they ask you, they're worried about what's best for them at the moment. You need to start concerning yourself with what's best for me. What's gonna get me to where I need to be? What's gonna get me to the gym? What's gonna get me this new career job? What's gonna get me that new house that I want? What's gonna get me, the goals that I'm trying to reach? And saying yes to everybody, giving out, whether it's, financially, emotionally, physical, whatever it is, support to everybody. You have to learn to be more selfish in such a unselfish way, if that makes sense. It's okay to say no. It's okay to think for yourself. But you have to do it in a way where people understand. You can't just be rude. You can't just be, an asshole about it, because people then are gonna just be like, well, then you just being an asshole. So there's a great way, but this goes into talking about the next part of what I wanted to say, which is asserting yourself, but politely. Like using words like, I feel like this isn't the best for me, or I don't feel this is what's best for me at the moment, or, things of that nature. And when we're talking about setting boundaries, or we're speaking on setting boundaries or setting them in place, words or an assertive tone can definitely help with setting these boundaries. Being assertive isn't being aggressive. So words like, or terms and phrases like, I feel like I shouldn't be doing this, or I feel like, it's not what's best for me, or I need to do this for myself, or I need to do this. Is letting people know that, you're being assertive without trying to be rude or come off as such a, confrontational person. Because at the end of the day, no one wants somebody that, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be a pushover in situations. And people sometimes get carried away, or they don't really understand that they, could be using you, or they don't understand that, you're such a nice person. People take advantage of people all the time, whether they know it or they don't know it. So being more assertive or coming across as more confident and standing on the terms and things that you stand for, then it's gonna help people. Like for me, like I said before, I have such a big heart. Sometimes I don't really know, or I don't want to be confrontational. It's other reasons why I don't want to be confrontational, because if I get there, sometimes I get there and there ain't no going back. So I choose the route more likely to, be less confrontational, which 9 times out of 10 results into me not saying, or me not expressing myself, or me feeling, like I said before, used. And, I would take that more so than being more confrontational, which is bad. And that's a boundary that I'm still trying to work on, and stand on the things that I feel is important, or things that feel, what's best for me. It's a journey, and I still haven't figured the answers out even with that. So I feel as though we need to come together and figure out ways. So even with that, man, it's still hard to find a way to not come across as, you want to be rude, because it's a difference from being, like I said, assertive, and there's a difference between being aggressive. So you have to find a balance and really stand on what it is you're trying to say. And people will respect it more. I don't think people would come across, if I was to stand up and say, hey, like, I really don't have it. I think I need to save this money for me. I understand you're in a tough situation. You have to start understanding and explaining to people, the level of why you can't do this or why you can't do that. And to be honest, you really don't owe them an explanation either. So you could really just leave it at, nah, I don't have it, or no, I can't do that right now, or nah, it's not a good time for me. You know what I'm saying? So you just have to understand who you are as a person and what makes you comfortable, or what words or terms or phrases, or just plain out no that you could say that might help you out. Because that's a boundary that definitely needs to be set in place. You can't just let people walk all over you, even if you are nice and kind, because then at the end of the day, that's naive. You being ignorant to your own needs, and then, like I said, you're not holding yourself accountable, and you're blaming others for why you're in the situation or why you're in the headspace that you're in. So when we're talking about safeguarding your space, we're talking about both physically and emotionally. And this can mean you're further explaining to either your partner, your friends, family, whoever, that they've broken the boundary of you physically or emotionally. When you go into talking about your space or trying to protect your energy, this is the term I like to use. I'm always big on energy. I'm a very big energy person. And, if I go into a room and the energy is off, I tend to kind of say, I don't want to be around negative energy. I tell my wife that all the time. I understand, and I listen to her all the time. I do. But it's times and it's periods of the day where, I need positive energy. I need to be around things that that's why I don't watch the news like that. I know it's bad, and people are like, oh, you need to watch the news, but 9 times out of 10, the news has it's negative. There's always someone dying. It's a murder. It's something negative, and I don't want to start my day like that. You know, so I'm not one of those people who wake up and they look at the news. I try to start on a positive note. You know, I am in the gym, so before I used to get in the gym early, I would start my morning by listening to R&B. It's soothing, it's chill, it gets me in a good headspace, you know, versus hip hop, where it's just rah, 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 rah. And that's not how I want to start my day. But back to, you know, protecting your energy, protecting your space, is you have to be, for someone who is battling mental health, or someone whose mental is unstable, you have to speak up and be more verbal on saying, hey, you know, this isn't okay for me. I don't need to be in this place with you guys. I don't need to be doing this. I don't need to be doing that, because at any moment in time, it could trigger things. So when it comes to protecting your space or protecting your energy, you have to be more vocal on that. You can't just let anybody into your space. You can't just let anybody, you know, dictate, you know, your emotional state at any time of the day. The mental battle, or just being in a state of peace, is probably the best thing that you can do for yourself. So when it comes to peace, you need to find ways. Step out, go on a walk, read a book, play a video game, go to the gym, do what you have to do that's gonna keep your space sane. Because a lot of us go insane, and a lot of us put ourselves in situations where, you know, it's a toxic situation. We put ourselves where we're always going out, and we're only doing that just to mask what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? For me, a lot of the times I put myself in situations where I always wanted to be turned up, I always wanted to be lit, I always wanted to, you know, do all these different things, not knowing that this really isn't helping the situation I need to be in, because 9 times out of 10, while I'm in those situations, I'm going backwards on the things that's happening. Like, I'm not saying no to people when I should say no. You know what I'm saying? I'm not protecting my peace, and I'm not being assertive, and I'm not saying, oh, I don't want to do that, or I'm not speaking up. I'm saying I'm not feeling that. I'm just letting things be what they may be. And I think when it comes to us battling the things that we're battling, so a lot of my trauma just comes from, you know, me caring for others more than I care for myself. Like, I love myself, though. Oh, I love myself. I'm very big on, you know, making sure I'm good, but I just think I put others on a pedestal way beyond me, and that has to change. I need to start putting myself here and others here. Unless it's my wife, then I don't see how, you know what I'm saying, we can all be here. For me, I need to start learning the word no in an assertive tone while I'm protecting my space. Those 3 things right there is what can really save your mental on a day-to-day. You know, and that's even at work. Even if you're at work, man, and you know you have coworkers, or you know you have a boss, or put yourself in a situation where you're not, you know, getting into arguments, or you're not getting into the ticky-tack, or you're not getting into, you know, he say, she say, business, office gossip, whatever it is. A workspace is a very toxic space because there's just so many personalities going on. But you need to figure out how to protect your space and your bubble. You know, and if somebody's doing some shit at work that you're not feeling, speak up on it. I think a lot of times when we're people who battle with mental health, is we get caught up in, we don't speak up on our emotions or what we're feeling. Again, if you speak up on it, it goes into what we talked about a little bit, is saying it in an assertive tone versus an aggressive tone. Because once the situation escalates and it becomes toxic and it becomes aggressive, now our space is all blown up. We're in a negative headspace. Now our day is ruined. And that can trigger into so many things, especially if you're battling with mental health. Now you're just like, I'm off. That energy travels, that energy carries on to the next day, you know? So I think we need to start figuring out ways that we can protect and keep the peace going completely. Now, I'm not gonna be oblivious to it and say that bad days don't happen or bad things don't happen. Yeah, sure. But the things that we can control, or the environments that we can control, do our best to control them a little better. The things we can't control, can't really do nothing. You gotta let go and let God at the end of the day. All right, so let's recap. We talked about using the word no, using it more often, okay? Putting yourself first. We have to find ways of putting ourselves first more than we put others first. Because me personally, I always put people here and I put myself here. And it's like we talked about a little earlier, you know, we have people, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people of you watching, you know, you guys have big hearts, and that gets taken advantage of more often. So using the word no is a great way of just taking that power back and being more about self than others. I oftentimes feel like, you know, I say yes to everything, whether it's my family, whether it's my friends, whether it's my wife, whatever the case. And that puts me in a very, very weird headspace, because it's a lot of times like my family will call and it's just like, all right, what do you need? Or sometimes even my friends, I know they probably don't mean it, or they do, I don't fucking know. But, you know, you gotta think, before I ask him for something, or before, you know, I put him in this, like, what's he going through? You know, like, are you okay? Like, I've battled so many times, and it's a pet peeve of mine. I had those phone calls like, hey, what's up? What you doing? In my head, I'm already like, what do you need? What you want? What you want? I already hear the tone. So to beat that, it's off the rip, set that boundary on saying no, okay? And before people even read more into this, it's saying no for the right reason of, I don't have it. I can't do it. It's not something that's beneficial to me right now. And that's not just with money. That's with your time. That's with your emotions. That's with your feelings. That's with all of that. Your space. Nah, I can't hang out with y'all. No, you can't come over. I'm working on me. Don't just say yes. No, I don't want to go to the club. No, all right? That goes back into being more assertive and not aggressive. This could be more like in the workplace, whatever the case. Just use terms, like we said, of, I don't feel like, I can't do this. This is not something I need to do. And you don't owe people an explanation 9 times out of 10. You can say it and be done with it. If you feel like you need to explain that to them, then you use it in a more assertive tone. Don't be aggressive. Don't go with the curse words. Don't go with the rah, 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 rah. Because then now we're going into the last part, which is protecting your space, protecting your energy. When you start making the situation more aggressive, and a lot of times, like I said, I hate making situations aggressive because I know where I can take that, and I'm not trying to get there. Because once I get an attitude, or once I get into that negative headspace, all of my other emotions start to get riled up, and all my balance of me feeling like myself gets off, because now I'm not in the correct headspace. So then I have to figure out a way to get out of that, you know? And it's gonna be days where you wake up and none of this, you're not gonna care to do any of this. You're not gonna care to say no, you're gonna say yes. You're not gonna, you know, be assertive with yourself. You're gonna be more, you know, aggressive and angry, have an attitude, and then your space is gonna be off, because it's just, now you're in a place where you don't even wanna speak up. Now you're in an environment you don't even wanna be in. And even the people watching this, man, like, we need to have more understanding for what others might be going through. Like, now that we're speaking on, you know, setting boundaries, or lack thereof, any boundaries that are set, don't be those people that put yourself in a situation to where you're being a burden to others, you know? Because sometimes, like, I know that I can be sometimes, as far as like me being emotional, and I'm always expecting my friends to be understanding of my emotions, or understanding of them to be more sensitive to my needs. And it's like, now that I'm speaking on it and I'm understanding that, you know, you can be a emotional, you know, wreckage to people. Like, just putting all of that emotion on them, putting all that weight on them. There's times of understanding when and when not to do this or to do that. Like I said, it's a time to be assertive. It's a time to say no. It's a time to say, oh, I don't need to be in the mix at the time. Just like it's a time to make it to be an inconvenience to others. Just find a balance, and I think that's the best way we can kind of, you know, be hip to what's going on with our mental state, is finding a balance in your life where everything aligns. It's hard. That's why it's a battle. It's not going to always be as simple or as easy as it needs to be. But this all goes to show, man, like, if you can't have a conversation with the people around you, you need to reevaluate that. If the people get attitudes for you saying no, or if the people get an attitude for you saying, hey, I can't do that for me right now, I can't do that, it's not what's best for me right now, I don't want to go, nah, I don't feel like hanging with you, or like, hey, not today, bro. I can't come to that family function. It's just, the way that y'all been. I'm not trying to be around that. If these people get an attitude for that, man, you don't need to be around that. That's not healthy or conducive to your mental state. You know what I'm saying? So you need to figure out what is conducive. The gym, go walk, read a book, write in a journal. I don't know, travel, do things and find yourself within the mix. Because year after year after year after year after year, up until this point, I've lost myself in just doing things just because people ask me to do it. Or I get into this mode where I just feel used all the time because I don't know how to say no, or I don't know how to, stand up and be assertive and say, hey, I'm not okay with this. And those are probably some of the things that I'm battling with. Some of the traumas, like I spoke on episode 1, it's a lot of things that, I haven't spoken on to a lot of people for, which is, this is a great way for people to understand that. And as far as ways that I'm advancing and bettering myself, I'm starting to reevaluate myself through this podcast. So I think this is the best way for me, because I'll go back and look at some of these videos and I'm like, damn, okay, well, maybe this is why I'm feeling like this, or maybe I need to start, I don't want to be a hypocrite to my own words that I'm talking to y'all about. And I need y'all to understand that I'm going off of experiences that I deal with. And it's a lot of y'all, it's crazy to see, through the comments and things like that. Y'all like, I can relate, I understand. So now I know that me just speaking off of general purpose of what I'm saying and how I feel, I'm helping somebody out. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, this is a battle that we can all help win. You know what I'm saying? So, man, that's episode 3, man. Thank you guys for watching. It's a short and simple, sweet one, but it's something I felt needed to be talked about this week. And remember, man, set those boundaries. It can help a relationship. If it hurts it, then the relationship wasn't meant to be, man. So I'm D, man. You already know, man. Good vibes only.